My name's Stephen Waddington. I work for an agency called Ketchum. I'm variously a writer, practitioner, and a teacher at Newcastle University. I wanted to talk through, really inspired by the agenda for today and yesterday, talk through and try and bring together all the issues that we're talking about and reflect on where our business is going, but not only that, reflect on where it's been. So what I've done is contentiously call this Grow Up or Get Out, because I feel we are at a point where practice is changing so rapidly that we really do have to work hard to keep up with what's happening in the business. But also we've never had such an opportunity as public relations becomes part of what every organization does because of this wonderful thing called the internet. So I've created this grid of 16 areas of discipline in public relations, and we've got about half an hour. I'm going to try and fire through each of these in 90 seconds each. I've written a blog to go with this that I posted on my blog this morning, wads.co.uk, so you can go and find more information there, and also links to jumping off places where there's more stuff. So we're at a time and a place where public relations is about 100 years old, and we're continually having this discussion in practice about what it is. I'm sick to, in fact, I wrote an article about this quite recently. I'm just completely bored with people talking about and trying to redefine public relations. The definition of public relations is very straightforward. We help organizations understand their purpose and their publics and engage with those publics to build relationships, trust and reputation. We do that through engagement. We have traditionally done it through media relations since the 1950s or 60s, through mainstream media. But we're kind of going back to the future with the advent of the internet and social media, and we're engaging through all these new forms of media in direct public relationships. So I have this riff on public relations going back to the future because it's becoming about public engagement. We don't need to redefine public relations, but what we do need are better models to understand and plan what we do. This is a model I use to describe practice. Practice as it evolves from media relations to brands creating their own media, branded media, through to influencer relations. I'll talk a little bit more about that because influencers aren't just journalists now. Everybody has influence within a network. It's becoming about community management as organizations create communities, publics around them, and engage those publics in true two-way conversations. That's the most exciting area of practice. And then we're seeing, and I think this will see out the rest of my career, organizations truly becoming public. So public relations isn't just part of the communication team now. It's touching every aspect of an organization, from human resources to sales, to customer service, to product development. Anywhere around the organization is becoming public. And that's the most exciting bit about what we're doing. So if we understand what public relations is, where do we fit within it, and what is our role? Typically, a practitioner defines their expertise by how many years they've worked in practice. It's absolute bullshit. Time served is one metric of experience, but with the business moving so quickly, media changing so quickly, it's a lousy proxy for competence. And so I would implore you, in fact, how many people are signed up to a professional competency framework at the moment? How many people do CPD? I would urge you, all of you, to start thinking about your own professional accreditation and continuous professional development, because it's absolutely critical to the future of practice if we want to be taken seriously in boardrooms among senior colleagues. The PRCA, in the PR census they published last week, looked at the number of professionals based on ONS data from the government, and came up with this number of 82,000 people working in the profession. CIPR is about 10,000 members, PRCA similar sort of number. Based on the CIPR's latest data, there's about 1,800 of them doing CPD. That's less than 2% of the profession, and it's woeful. And we need to get a lot better. I wrote a book. In fact, no, I didn't. I edited a book when I was president of the CIPR called Chartered Public Relations. Unfortunately, not many people seem to have read it because we've only just celebrated our 100th Chartered Public Relations practitioner. Now, in accountancy and finance, granted, they're much bigger professions. There are hundreds and thousands of chartered practitioners. We only have 100 in public relations so far. So, challenge yourself on your professional journey to becoming chartered. Third thing. This was touched on yesterday, judging by the tweets. The business does not represent the public it seeks to serve. We have this massive gender disparity right the way across the profession. Men are paid more than women. It's frankly illegal. We've had an equal opportunities law within Great Britain since the 80s. This needs correcting. In my view, the only way we're going to correct this is by publishing transparent pay scales. There's also an issue around ethnicity. We don't represent the publics we serve from an ethnic point of view either. That's starting to change thanks to initiatives like the Taylor Bennett Foundation and mentoring, where young people from diverse backgrounds that wouldn't normally consider public relations as a profession are starting to come into it, and that's important. Fourth thing, community of practice. So how many academics are in the room, or teachers? 2 of us. Okay, this is a public relations festival about the future of public relations. We have two academics in the room. I'm not even a proper academic, I'm a fake academic. But I root my practice in research. Academics and practitioners need to get better at working together. There's some fantastic work going on in the universities around the world about new forms of media, new forms of public engagement, new forms of understanding behavior. And we're just not reflecting that work in practice. Similarly, there's not the transfer of knowledge the other way. That needs to get a lot better. There's Sarah Hall, myself, Sarah who's at the front, myself and Dr. John White are leading a discussion at a research conference at the end of the month called BlegCom, where we're challenging academics and practitioners to figure out ways that we can do this a lot better. The fifth thing is just the massive explosion in media, and this is a really exciting, thing. Mary Meekers is a wonderful analyst from KPCB, an analyst house and venture capitalist on the West Coast, publishes a huge data stack every year studying different forms of media, and points to the explosion that's happening on the internet. Her latest data says there are 3 billion people connected to this beautiful thing we call the internet. We've reached the point in the West where as many people that are going to connect to the internet, as many people can, are. Most of those people are connected with more than one device. Now, if you look at any data from the World Economic Forum through to Google, through to Facebook, they're all saying that number will, by 2030, will reach 7 billion. So we're coming to a time and place where everybody on the planet is going to be connected to the internet. When that happens, public relations suddenly has a means of connecting and building relationships on behalf of organizations with everyone around the world. And this is the opportunity for our business and for the organizations we work for. As that happens, new forms of media are emerging. And if you haven't looked at messaging, you really need to. Messaging, from nowhere in the last 5 years, two networks have emerged, WhatsApp and Snapchat. Variously, they have 800 million people on those networks and 1 billion people on those networks. They're absolutely massive, yet most organizations haven't yet even started to consider how they fit into their organizational communication. Yeah, I know when I go back to my office today and appear online, the first messages I will get aren't through email, it's people messaging me. Yet we haven't considered how that fits in with our communication strategy as an organization. There's a related point. Facebook and Google have announced messenger bots that will act on behalf of the organization and draw out, through artificial intelligence, draw out information that publics want to see. Go and check out what Facebook announced at its recent conference and some of the organizations that are starting to use messenger bots as a means of engagement and customer service. Influencer relations is a nightmare for me at Ketchum. This is probably one of the biggest areas of developing practice for us, because across every area, across every market, across every public, influencers are emerging right the way around organizations. This is PewDiePie. If you don't know PewDiePie, he's a gamer based in Brighton that has a massive audience on YouTube. You would not consider launching a computer game to a mainstream computing audience these days without engaging with this guy. The complexity for public relations comes because to engage with PewDiePie, you need to get your checkbook out and you need to pay him as an ambassador or an influencer or an advocate and build a relationship with him. So there's a paid element of that coming into our business. And that's happening in every single sector, in every single market. Opened YouTube yesterday and up pops the latest video from James Corden with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You wouldn't consider now as a musician launching a new album to a mainstream audience without doing a drive show on YouTube. So you've got to consider how these areas fit into practice. That relates to us working across all these different forms of media. So we've come from an earned editorial way discipline. We're moving towards branded forms of content. But in the last 10 years, because of the way algorithms have changed, Google being the first one, and then because the way social networks have changed their news algorithms, if you've built a community, as many organizations have on Facebook, and you want to engage with that community as optimally as possible, you have no choice as a public relations practitioner but to put paid behind your content. So we have to enter the area of paid media. If you want to optimize what you do from a search point of view, you have no choice but to do paid. If you want to work in the influencer relations space and hire influencers such as PewDiePie as advocates on behalf of your organization, or you want to hire an Instagrammer, you have to do some sort of paid element of your campaign. So it was really fantastic to see the data came out of the Holmes report published in Toronto 2 weeks ago, called its Global Communication Report. We were finally starting to see that public relations is getting assertive in this new area of paid because it's having to. If you don't, you're going to fall behind and miss out completely. It's a really, really important area of practice, and it was fantastic to see the tool published yesterday by AMAG at its conference in London. Measurement tool finally has paid in as a key element of integration within a campaign. That's important. This is an area I'm watching really keenly in my day job at Ketchum, as we're starting to see artificial intelligence applied to communication. And we're starting to see devices like the Amazon Echo emerge. This is like Siri on steroids. It's a device like a Sonos box that sits within your house that you can literally ask questions of. It will go away to the internet and fetch responses to you. Google has just announced a product called Google Home at its I/O conference that does exactly the same. When this type of technology becomes mainstream, and we're just starting to see the first devices now, we're going to see a whole layer of ripped out of the internet, an intermediary layer taken out. Because I don't go to Amazon Echo and say, go and find me a cinema ticket, go and find me some groceries. When I ask that question, it goes and does it, and it makes decisions for me based on what it knows about me, the knowledge graph that Google has or Amazon has about me. And that's going to see a complete upheaval, I think, in how we communicate using the internet, how organizations communicate using the internet. And we're going to see a level of disintermediation that we probably haven't seen since traditional media shifted onto the internet. And this is hugely exciting because organizations like Amazon and like Google have a huge amount of information about us. Cannes starts this weekend, and this was just to make the point that public relations, we've got a creativity workshop later today, public relations is recognized now amongst the marketing mix, amongst other businesses and other disciplines as being as strong on creative as any other aspect. So we are standing up at Cannes, the leading festival for creativity in the world. Some of the best ideas are coming from public relations. This was a fantastic piece of work published by out of the Netherlands on behalf of a HIV charity, HIV, an issue that's sort of fallen off mainstream agenda. They published a magazine using an ink made from a hybrid of blood from HIV sufferers, and they put that on the front cover. PR idea executed across many different media, including a very physical form of printed media. And if you go onto YouTube and look at how people responded when they opened that, they had a very physical and emotional connection with that piece of content. PR idea executed wonderfully. Point 11 is our obsession with press releases. So you might have seen on your email this morning or on the web, on Twitter, the deal between Cision and PR Newswire has finally gone through. That deal valued last year at almost $1 billion. In one way, it's good because we're integrating workflow and becoming smarter and smarter. In another way, it recognizes that the press release is still right at the center and the core tool of what we do and how we work. So most PR campaigns still start with the press release as a piece of content. Where they should start is by listening to your publics, understanding the media where your publics are and the type of content they share. We all have in front of us fantastic multimedia production devices capable of recording HD video and audio that you could broadcast straight directly to the web, or the BBC will accept as broadcast quality audio, yet we don't use them. I would urge you, everybody, to investigate your mobile phones and the type of content you can create with them, the different apps you can use, because it's incredibly exciting. Move away from the press release. The press release should be the last result. It's 100 years old, created in 1906. There's the first one. You can go and see it on Wikipedia. Yeah, most of mainstream workflow is based on that. 12 is on the authenticity and purpose. Very exciting area for public relations. Public relations, as we are invited into the boardroom and operate at senior levels within organizations, has the opportunity to help organizations discover their purpose. If there's one thing the internet has done, it's made made organizations aware that you can't put lipstick on a pig anymore. Reality, reality is what an organization does and how it acts through its communication. So I use Simon Sinek's planning model to help organizations get to the purpose of what they do, and then use that model as a way of communicating that purpose across many different forms of media. And I'd urge you to look that up, because perception absolutely is reality. We're at a time and place where 10 years ago, when Facebook first became a mainstream tool, organizations locked it down. So we had this weird thing going on where this fantastic new technology emerged called social networking. An organization said, "Now we don't want our people within those organizations to communicate with each other. That doesn't make any sense." They were concerned, of course, about the productivity hit that would have on organizations. So I'm being slightly flippant. But social forms of media enable organizations to communicate across boundaries, across regions, in ways they just haven't done before. I'm rolling out a Facebook at Work project at the moment with inaugural organisation, and just to start to see the ways it's delivering productivity improvements to the organisation that we hadn't even considered is fantastic. So simple things like threaded conversations. You don't get in the morning anymore and have 40 conversations about the same topic, usually asking someone to clean the fridge out. What happens is that conversation takes place in a place, in a completely separate place on social media. That's hugely exciting. The second point about advocacy within an organisation is if you give people within your organisation the tools to go and communicate, naturally, because they're on your payroll, they are the most authentic voices for your organisation. So this is a call to free those voices and let those voices go out and communicate on behalf of your organisation. They have the tools to do that, they have the media to do it, they have the networks to do it. When they do it, it's truly, truly, truly empowering. And they are the most powerful advocates and influencers for your organisation. One of the most exciting areas of practice is internal communication. And now internal communication is becoming truly external communication now. 14 is the rise of data and the fall away of demographics. So we now have data, unlike we ever have before, to be able to understand publics across any market, media, or network. Very simply, you could open a tool like Blue Nod. You could just open Twitter, actually, and listen to the conversations that are taking place in this room right now and start to understand the topology of relationships within this small community. The framework published yesterday, is based on 25 or 30 years of thinking in practice. We seem to have this obsession to continually try and reinvent stuff. But it provides a very neat framework to link the objectives of an organisation with the objectives of a public relations campaign, set KPIs against those, and then recognise outputs and outcomes, for goodness sake, of what we do. And they've provided a really neat planning tool to help us do that. Go and look at it, go and check it out, learn how to use it in your conversations with the management within your organisation and your clients. It's a fantastic piece of work. It's available for free. This is a reference to the government communication service available evaluation framework. Again, another fantastic tool, slim document, 12 or 16 slides, that help you think through communication planning. Some of the best work in public relations at the moment is happening under Alex Aitken in various public sector organisations around the UK through the modernisation programme that he's driving through, and the thinking like this. And the best thing about it is they're doing it all publicly and making these tools available for free. And the final thing is this tool that I know Frederick Vince talked about yesterday, PR Stack, because as we talk about how media changes, as we talk about how publics are engaging through all forms of different media, our practice is changing in ways that we're only starting to discover. And Fred and I started this project last year when we were trying to make sense of the tools, the third-party tools that exist around almost every area of workflow in our business. If you haven't checked out PR Stack, I'd urge you to go and do it, because it's a good jumping off point for any aspect of workflow in public relations to help you find a tool to make you help you do a better job. And that's me. I hope that's been useful. You can go and find this content on my blog at wads.co.uk. Should be on there, yeah. I'm Wads on Twitter if you want to connect with me, if you've got any questions about any aspect of what I've talked about.